Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Bama Standard, and we're here after a great Cotton Bowl victory and ahead of the Natty. Well, tonight, as you can tell, this is not Marvin Constant, Steve Brown, or Stephen M. Smith. They actually got furloughed, and these guys were sent over by the temp agency.
Temporary agency for podcasts.
So, these guys are here to kind of fill in. No, for real. Excited tonight because it's a big night. One, I had the guys from Week Zero Sports over here. And if you guys, real quick, introduce yourself to the Bama Standard audience.
Hey, I'm Michael. Great to be here. Great I mean, it's a pleasure to be on this great show. I've been watching it for a while. It's nice to actually be a part of it.
Petty, we're with Week Zero Sports, man. Glad to be a part of the Bama Standard, man. Now I feel like we're part of the big time. And I'm offended that you thought your audience would confuse me with Marvin. I mean, come on, man.
Y'all have the same physique.
I mean,
it's pretty similar. Yeah, pretty similar. But
well, thanks for having us, Justin. This is great.
Absolutely glad to have y'all. Glad this opportunity was awarded to us. Audience, just to kind of answer the questions, right now, Marvin is still recovering from his knee replacement surgery. He is having to learn to walk again. I talked to him today. And it's just a really tough time. His pain tolerance has gotten better, but he's still having a hard time, especially with trying to learn to walk again. At 42 years old, trying to learn to walk again, that's a tall order. And tomorrow, he's headed back to Birmingham. We'll be having his staples removed from his leg. So the road to recovery is happening for him slowly but surely. Stephen M. Smith will be with us. He'll be on about 15 after the hour, which isn't too far from now. The rest of the guys cannot be here, so you can be.
They're all stuck on I-95 up north, right?
Absolutely, and it looks like we got a bot that has joined the chat. So welcome, bot.
Come on, Nug to you.
But yeah, we got
great A&M bot.
You're big time when you've got the bots jumping in from other continents.
Hey, we got some. Hey, we got your favorite audience member, guys, from
Jones in the house.
Good to see you, motherfucker.
This guy that we don't have to introduce ourselves to this guy.
Right.
No, not at all. If y'all not familiar, we have a Saturday show, the Saturday morning cocktail kickoff, where we talk about college football as a whole. And if you've missed it, shame on you, because we've had some very entertaining shows.
Yeah, you're not one of the cool kids. Man, Are y'all ready? Bama, underdogs again.
Before we get to that, let's give the rundown real quick. Stephen Smith going to be here at 15 after the hour. 30 minutes after the hour, we are going to be joined by the Bama Standard head of recruiting and talent evaluation, Mr. Ty Turner. He's going to be talking about the talent disparity between Alabama and Cincinnati and why it just didn't work. Big surprise. And quite frankly, why the group of five just doesn't belong in the college football playoff. So we'll get to hear from him. We'll get to hear about his team talent formula that he's put together. Is very comparable to 247 Sports. 45 after the hour, Mr. Terry Jones Jr. will be back as well to give his take on the upcoming Alabama versus Georgia. But yeah, welcome everybody. Glad to have everybody in. And since you're my guest, guys, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I want to hear your knee-jerk reactions from the Cotton Bowl Friday. Michael, I'll start with you.
I was totally not shocked at all. The way we just jammed the football down their throat for the entire first drive set the tone for the game. I believe we were already moving into the Georgia game by the second quarter, unfortunately, for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have crimson glasses, everybody. If you don't know me very well, I am the eternal crimson optimist, so you're not going to get any bad stuff from me.
I think the staff wanted to see what those first couple of drives were going to look like at the line of scrimmage, and it was quite obvious that it was. I mean, ran the ball the first 9-10 plays. Well, one of them was tried to be a pass, but he's Young scrambled and got tackled. But I mean, I actually expected higher scoring. The only reason it wasn't is because Bama just ran the ball, didn't show anything to get out of there, get nobody hurt, and just ran down their throat. But man, what was the thing you want to take away more impressed was the defense. The defense,
right.
Cincinnati, I maybe kind of expected them to put up some stuff. I don't know. their offense was pretty good. I expected maybe they could score, but that defense did not allow it. Man, the defensive front is just getting nastier and nastier the last few weeks.
And one of the reasons why they weren't able to score, I think, the bit was the fact that we took away the run early, which is kind of their bread and butter, which they used to set up their offense. And Jerome Ford kind of started off hot, but then the defense clamped down and didn't really allow a whole lot of anything. And Desmond Ridder never really could get comfortable. I mean, he had a few good throws here and there, but just couldn't play like everybody thought he could play, which was great for us. But yeah, defense lights out. Of course, Will Anderson just kicked ass all night long.
Sure.
But also, if you had to elect a co-defensive player of the game, you got to look at Brian Branch. Good
Brian
gosh.
Branch.
I mean, all over the place, laying the wood, just dictating how everything went. Daniel Wright added to that. Just a tremendous showing by the defense.
Well, I had one small area of concern during the Cincinnati game, and I think probably every other Alabama fan had the same thing. But when we had the injury on the offensive line early, we stopped shoving it down their throat for a few minutes, and it seemed like we kind of got it back together. And this reminded me a little bit of that Auburn game when we had the offensive line injury. We were a little messed up on the right side, and they just kept sending the pressure over there and getting to us. And I'm hoping that we have a similar kind of next game against Georgia again, where they've got it all completely back together. Because those injuries, our offensive line injuries, seem to throw us out of sync for a little bit when they happen.
It did, but they were able to collect themselves pretty nicely, and I think that Joe Pendry's influence over the past couple of weeks, I think, played a huge role in that. I think a little bit of that Joe Pendry nasty kind of got inside the guys' heads and their minds. But overall performance by the offensive line was absolutely amazing. It does hurt having Emil Ekiyor out. Of course, later on, Chris Allen got put out. As far as the extent of both those guys' injuries, we don't know. Coach Saban didn't really go into too much detail yesterday. All he said was, we hope to have some of these guys back by next week. Among them was also Christian Harris, so we're kind of waiting to see on three very pivotal players. But to go back to what you're saying about Bryce Young, it didn't look like he ever really gained his footing in this game. But that's okay because he didn't have to. We felt going in, all we really had to do was just play Bama ball. And since they're against the run, Cincinnati was atrocious. Why not just go ahead and play to your strength and do what we do and pass when we had to? And Brian Robinson showed up. To be honest with you, if Bill O'Brien would have allowed him to, B-Rob probably could have ran for 300.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Sure. No, absolutely. We won that game the way that Georgia beats people who are inferior to them all year long. And that's how they beat everybody all the way up till they met Bama. They met someone on the same field. Or even Clemson. They met someone with a defense that could kind of match up with them and things were different. But we just did we're bigger, stronger, and faster than you, run it down your throat, and have a vanilla game plan. And it worked to perfection.
One thing I would have liked to have seen, maybe you guys can echo this, is when B-Rob came out, that's when Bill O'Brien decided to get a little cute and start this passing nonsense. Instead of giving the ball to Trey Sanders, I feel like Trey could have been used a little bit more or a lot more. I think you still could have kept the same pace going with him.
Sure. Maybe that was a little bit of just keeping them honest too, because you didn't really want to throw into those corners. To be honest, they had a pretty good secondary of that team. I think their secondary was better than Georgia's.
Without question. Give them props, man.
That's the funny thing. You got if you looked at the scores from the Georgia-Bama game in the SEC Championship versus the Cotton Bowl and took the names away, you would have thought the Cotton Bowl score was the Bama-Georgia. You would have flipped the names. So, yeah, I agree with Michael. It's shocking, and boy, that's probably, if there's any Georgia fans out there listening, that just peed in their coffee, but who gives a shit? But
it's not the Georgia standard we're sitting on today, right?
Facts matter.
Hey,
say this guy right here.
That's okay, Petty. Georgia always is good at finding something to complain about and excuses too.
Well, I'm going to tell you something though, Justin. They worked their tails off last week, and they were out there practicing their butts off. And Kirby wanted to let everybody know that they had, everybody in that entire stadium's rear end had fallen off by the time they got to the game. So, we're going to start a drinking game. Anytime that Kirby Smart uses a euphemism for your ass in one of his coach talk speeches, we got to drink.
Man, Kirby Smart,
Not
the
sleeping
poet.
this week.
Not at all.
Oh no.
That man is not sleeping. He is Nick Saban. He's counting Nick Sabans in his head to go to sleep, and it's not working.
Yes, off the cuff. Screw Georgia.
Right. Take that. We'll take that.
And they're assless football players.
Yeah.
Right. Their whole no, not just the entire support staff and everybody's asses have fallen off. There's not a tail on a single living creature except for Uga in Athens.
And maybe he lost his tail too. We don't know.
It's a kind of weak sauce tail anyway.
But do you guys maybe have an unsung hero of that game? I have a guy in mind, but I'll let you guys go first. Is there anybody that kind of maybe should have gotten more props than they didn't? Petty, you got a guy?
Man, and I think he's kind of been a glue guy. We talked about him earlier as Toa Toto, man. He's played really well lately. I mean, he's making the plays. Did I steal my bad, Michael?
Stole my guy.
Man, we didn't talk guys. So if I stole one of y'all's, I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
Well, no, I mean I think you nailed it. I think you absolutely nailed it.
I think he's kind of, to make a defense great, what makes a great defense great is always you've got a middle linebacker that's a general that's getting it done that you can depend on. Of course, you got to have the freak shows, Anderson blown up. All those guys are what take it over the edge, but you got to have that general, and he wasn't at first. He was kind of getting his foot, and people kind of wrote him off, but you got to remember he was coming in from Tennessee to Alabama, and it took a few games, but like I said, in the last few, and this one in general, I've got to give it to him. He was
Me too.
my dude.
Earlier in the season, he got beat in the hole sometimes. He would go up and
Yeah.
try to stop the back in the hole. He would just get beat, sometimes get run over, sometimes get run around. That has seemed to have completely been cleaned up by the end of this year. He's starting to become a solid run stopper in the middle. And that's where I thought
maturing
his weakness was.
at the right time.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to go a little bit away from what you guys have said, even though I do like your choice. I have to go with newcomer Kyrie Jackson. He absolutely balled out. Jalen Armour Davis tried to give it a go, but unfortunately just couldn't do it. And the good thing is, we took him out before it could cause further injury. Live to play another day. If he has a little bit more time to rest and heal, he would be a major factor in this game against Georgia. But Kyrie, man, balled out. Anytime you got a big guy, 6'3", 6'4", who can run a 4.4. Man, he's going to cause problems for offenses, and he was great, and he didn't play like a freshman. So really,
future looks bright for the secondary. Goodness.
Oh my gosh!
Man, you mentioned the word future, and I know we don't need to talk about the future now, but I actually did contemplate that some on a 9-hour drive here recently. But that's for later days, man. I'm bright, but no. Again, we've got bigger fish to fry. But you said that, and it kind of jarred a memory of thinking of days to come. I don't think it's slowing.
We forget it's a rebuilding year at Alabama.
Yeah,
right now.
this is the rebuilding year. Bryce is young. Remember, the quarterback he's
Literally
getting his feet wet. Young is young. No pun intended.
It was a travesty that they were talking about him being one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC before he'd ever started a game this year, right?
Yeah.
Travesty. People can't tell how good somebody is by watching them play last year.
Imagine that. And this was a rebuilding year too, guys.
Yeah, rebuilding.
Yep.
I'll take a rebuilding year where we go to the semifinals and Natty any day of the week.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
And still, I love it, man. You go into that Georgia game, the championship, and it's the year, they're favored 6.5. And it's just the beat down.
Speaking of Vegas, and on our show, anybody who's ever watched or listened to the Week Zero Sports and Other Stuff podcast, we talk a lot about gambling and the Vegas impact and all of that stuff. But Alabama being an underdog again is mind blowing to me. That absolutely blew my mind. The only reason I was going to take Alabama in the last game because if you give Bama points, I'm taking it anytime. So here we go again.
I want an instant reaction of a camera, a picture. Somebody had to when Kirby got told, "Hey, you're favored."
His face just turned into the rat poison emoji, I'm sure.
Break, it's over. Just call it. That's awesome. Man. I was shocked, to be honest. I guess not. What do they see, guys? What do y'all? How do you favor them after that last time?
Because when you look at it, when you're just running straight numbers and you don't look at the two teams and you don't factor in that it's Saban versus Smart and all those things and you just look at it, the numbers kind of seem to favor Georgia a little bit. But
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great,
But Michael, how much of that is actual logic going into this, and how much is this just the will of the people trying to encourage the downfall of the great dynasty?
There you go. There is a lot of Bama fatigue out there, and I'm here for it.
But that's not the way to do it. You favor Bama.
Yeah.
You don't give Saban an underdog role.
Hey,
I love
Nick
it,
Saban,
though.
Nick Saban Jr.
Bama, there was a great point right there. Donald Schultz just dropped up. Will you drop that comment on the screen?
I will. I definitely want to get to this one too. So Nick Saban Jr. Just hold on a minute, but hey, while I'm looking for this, guys, how about show of hands on everybody's Bama bingo? Who had Slade Bolden scoring the first touchdown?
Oh, not me. I'll take it though. I love that. That was great.
Slade, man.
You know
Slade's-
that he is one of the most underappreciated, heavily criticized guys on the Alabama team right now. And let's be honest, guys, in big moments and big games, Slade Bolden makes that catch or those catch that just keeps drives alive, and just get things done.
Oh yeah, outside that Texas A&M game where I got onto him a little bit for slapping him down in the end zone, he has been pretty solid for the rest of the year. Oh, it looks like we may have just lost Justin, guys. Well, anyway, let's get over until Justin pops back in. Let's talk about Donald's comment earlier. He said it's a Vegas bait. I believe that. I'm actually right on top because I think if they had made the game Bama minus 2.5, you'd have had a lot of money come in on Bama. But given Georgia that minus 2.5, everybody stops and thinks, whoa, do they know something we don't?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, you're
Okay, he's back. He's back.
okay.
You kind of stopped on us there for a second, Justin.
You know, when you're on AT&T internet here, it's a gamble.
Is that 56K?
It's that.
Judge-
I'm on the CB radio, is what I am.
Justin sees that little phone dial up under your screen.
It is. Nick Saban Jr., to get back to your comment, Coach Smook, who is a regular audience member of us, but more so TDA, said something last night that had me thinking all day. Work Kyrie Jackson in nickel package and match Kyrie up with Brock Bowers. Absolutely. If JAD can go and he's healthy, he can play the whole game, absolutely put our monster at defensive back Kyrie against Brock Bowers. You know, I think that's best on best right there. That gives us the best chance. If you're not going to do that, bracket the guy and force somebody else to step up for Georgia.
Because
Sure.
let's be honest,
Or
man,
both.
he was their best weapon, and he was injured. That's the one kind of concern, man. He was injured in that last game, didn't come on until really late. You know, healthy
Look,
Bowers. That dude's a
what,
beast.
coming out of that game, I was like, one of the best players on the field was Brock Bowers.
Oh,
if
yeah.
not the best. You know, I mean, you couldn't say he was better than Bryce in that game because Bryce had just a ball out day or whatever. But Brock Bowers was remarkable. In
No, I
the
had
SEC
Jason
championship.
Witten flashbacks.
And look who's throwing him the ball. Stetson Bennett's throwing him the ball too. It's
Yeah,
not like
he's
he's catching, Mac Jones easy in the breadbasket passes all day long.
No, he's catching from the milkman or whatever the hell he was.
Cowboy.
Walk on.
Well, guys, I have that little doorbell ringing in the background.
Oh, the green ring.
One of our Stephen M. Smith is here, and also our first guest is here. So let's go
Thunder.
ahead and let our co-host in first, since he's part of the family. And
Everybody's going to get excited
oh,
now.
there we go, ladies and gentlemen, the senior analyst of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, my brother Stephen M. Smith. Welcome in. Hey, where's your swag at?
Oh, hold on. I gotta get the jacket out of the closet. Just hold on. Hold on.
Okay, do that. I'm gonna let Ty Turner in while you're doing that.
How did it already make it to the closet?
Oh, all right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised earlier, we have the head of the Bama Standard Recruiting and Talent Evaluation, Mr. Ty Turner, here the first time live on air.
No, am I supposed to put the jacket on?
Yeah, man, put your jacket on. Put that swag on.
I like how you block the screen so you can make an appearance with it.
Great,
as well
yeah.
and see you in the suit, first of all.
Are
Gotta
you
make
gonna
an
ha-
entrance.
All right.
Coach Smith, are you going to have your pyro playing too, and maybe an intro song?
Yes. Georgia.
But anyway, welcome in, Ty. Have you here, brother? My normal crew isn't here. They're all reasons. Marvin is actually recovering from a knee replacement surgery, so he's having a tough time with that. As you can imagine, he probably shouldn't be on. But man, have you here, bud?
What's up? How you doing, Dad?
Man, excited to have you on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool.
Listen,
Stephen has no idea what's going on. He's just going to come rocking in.
no clue what's going on.
All right. I am here now.
You're here now. You
I'm
kind
here
of stealing Ty. You're kind of stealing Ty Turner's thunder, sir. I need you to. I like you got some sense.
No, it's good.
All right, can y'all see me? Oh, yeah, y'all can't see me. There we go. Y'all can see
So
me.
you John Cena?
All right, here we go. Cotton Bowl gear here. Courtesy of the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, nice.
This is the Cotton Bowl pullover here from Dallas. Thank you, great people of Dallas. This is actually a replica of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl trophy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Trophy. And this is the Cotton Bowl hat. So we got the hat, the trophy, and the jacket here. So Cotton Bowl.
Roll Tide.
They took care of you, man. Hey, Steve and
Yeah,
M.
and then of course all the food I could eat, which wasn't a lot of it, but all the food I could eat.
Well, Steve and M, you're very familiar with our guest tonight, our first guest tonight, Mr. Tyler Turner. I know it's been a while, but he is with us.
I mean, it's great to have Ty, man. It's great to have him, pull himself away from Santiago one time in the sportscast. It's good to see that.
For those of you.
You know what a huge Bama fan I am, so you guys got
This is probably the most objective guy we're ever going to have on our
There's
podcast.
too much red going on here.
I mean, that's why I try. Look, that's why. Well, I got the red in the background. Goodness, but
Y'all told me I had to wear crimson to be on the show.
Man, look, Justin told me to put the Cotton Bowl thing on.
Well, hey, man.
Got to see the swag.
Oh, but yeah, even Ty has his limits. But hey, we're happy to hear you. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. Listen, you had a lot to say leading up to the game. I saw your previous podcast, The Big Show on the Sportscast, and you just right off the bat just didn't think that Cincinnati belonged whatsoever, and with good reason. So if you would, man, kind of lead off with that, but also, too, kind of tell everybody about your team talent formula that you developed, which is similar to 247 Sports.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 247 team talent composite. They have it's a great little thing that they've had since 2015. They use the Gaussian distribution theory. It's kind of a bell curve to basically be able to formulate the points on each and every roster. I think its inception was in 2015. Alabama has had the best roster in college football 5 times. I think Ohio State had it once and Georgia had it once. So that just tells you what a ridiculous roster Nick Saban has compiled each and every season. I mean, there's no better coach in college football history at compiling talent. My formula is a little more simplistic. First of all, I'm not smart enough to do the Gaussian distribution theory, but also you can keep on adding and subtracting when players leave quicker. And I actually, in my formula, every time a guy leaves, he hits the transfer portal, he leads to the NFL, he gets kicked off the roster, I take his point total away from the talent score. And mine is much more just like easily streamlined. Obviously, the higher rated the player, the higher point value to have. And I kind of do it more of in a range instead of specifically each and every individual player. It's like players that are top 10 players, top 50, top 100, top 150, and I give them a point value. And honestly, last year when I brought up my formula and Team Talent Composite did theirs, the roster rankings were pretty similar. Honestly, our rankings were pretty much identical. I think at one point it's literally the 1 through 25 matched to Team Talent Composite. So I felt pretty good about this last formula I did. Alabama was number 1, and the biggest thing. So when on the Big Show they're asking me who's going to win, Cincinnati or Alabama. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to always be a slave to the numbers of like exactly who has the most roster talent, because you can be USC and you can blow that roster talent every single year. You can be Texas and you cannot live up to the roster talent.
Coaching
you can be
matter.
Florida State.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, there's guys, but I'm sorry. In the data shows, I mean, in Team Talent Composite, 7 years of data. Only one team not in the top 25 has made the college football playoff, and that was Cincinnati, who had the number 55 most talented roster this season.
55.
And
wow,
that's not good. I mean, yeah, and they had 8% of the roster were blue chippers. They had no 5 stars. They had 1 top 100 player. They had 7 4-stars, and that's why I didn't want the group of 5 in the playoff. In a 14 playoff, I didn't want the group of 5 because if Cincinnati played in any Power 5 conference, I'm talking about crappy conferences like the ACC and Pac-12, they would lose a couple times because that roster talent would eventually catch them in a couple games at a team that had some players that are just playing better. And so when they were playing Alabama, and I love Cincinnati, and I love Luke Fickell as a coach, and I love some players in the defense like Kobe Bryant and Sauce Gardner, and they're going to be NFL guys. I just knew up front on the offensive and defensive line, they could not match up with Alabama. So when they asked me who's going to win, I'm like, Alabama doesn't even have to do anything but run the ball, and they'll win by 3 scores. Well, I guess all right.
That's exactly what they did.
and then they asked me the same thing about Georgia, and I'm like, Georgia and Michigan are mirror images of themselves, but one team has 6 top 100 players, 3 5-stars, and the other team has 19 5-stars and 36 former top 100 players. I'm like, that mirror image is the problem. Is the one mirror image is a whole lot better. And
It's a funny mirror. It's one where they stretch.
So I'm like, they're going to be. I said they're going to beat Georgia by 3 touchdowns. I just thought it was a very easy college football playoff. Give me Ohio State, give me Clemson, something like that. With these teams, there's Michigan and Cincinnati against Georgia and Alabama was just
that makes me wonder, where did Michigan rank in your talent rankings?
15.
Okay.
Was Georgia's too?
Georgia's too.
Okay.
The thing is with when you see the tiers, like Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are significantly more talented than every roster. So if you want me to pick, I can pull it up right now. You can't see it on your end, but Alabama has 227.35 points. They have 73 blue chip players. They have 39 top 100 players. They have 15 5-stars. Georgia has 283.25 points. I was wrong. They have 18 5-stars, not 19. They have 47 4-stars, 36 top 100 players, 65 blue chip players. And like Ohio State, you mentioned them, they have 207.1, 16 5-stars, 34 top 100 players. And then it's substantial. It's Clemson and then LSU, and you go to Florida, USC, A&M, and Oregon, those groups. But Michigan is down there at 15, and they had 99.6, 41 blue chip players, 3 5-stars, and 6 top 100 players.
Oh, wow. So you're getting like double the points for the Georgias and the Alabamas versus the Michigan.
Yeah, over double.
Rough. Wow.
Yeah, and then with Cincinnati from my format had 31.8.
Oh, wow. So we're over 10x or close to 10x on that. Wow. I see.
Again,
when you look at it that way, it becomes kind of obvious how that game was going to go, right?
Yeah. Bama basically said we're going to run a draw.
Well,
I'm just gonna say this, Todd. When you get ready to replace Tom Luganbill for ESPN recruiting, just give us a call.
Oh yeah. And before you do that, can you call us before Saturday and tell us this? So some of us that maybe like to wager. I'd love to double down on that.
Yeah, I did anyway, but it's because of my crimson glasses, So.
I'm just saying. I mean, you might want to just call. You know what? Let me just call Tom Luganbill for you. Tom.
Hey, Ty, let me ask you this. You're talking about in your players. Do you do individual rankings for the players, or do you get the star rankings from another evaluation place, or do you adjust them based on your own, kind of evaluation, or how do you do that?
No, I go off of the team talent composite. So I mean. Yeah, I honestly trust guys like Greg Biggins, Steve Wilfong, Chad Simmons, that's on 3, Tom Luganbill. I trust guys that have done it for a long time. I think they give pretty good evaluations. And once again, it's not a perfect science.
Sure.
Obviously, there is some players you're going to miss on. But when you break it down, when you have a roster with so many 5-stars, so many blue chip players, and then add into the fact that Nick Saban always has one of the best coaches in college football, it's very difficult to miss on that many good players. And I'd probably say if there's one position that I notice is most often missed on, it is the quarterback position. And that's just because sometimes a guy goes and he is a 5-star and he's not probably was overrated due to his talent. And like, for instance, I can't say his name. Say his name for me, Justin.
Uyunglele.
Like he
And a guy
was
from Mississippi
guy,
said that.
Went through intense training in week 1.
Yes.
I personally thought he was overrated, and I guess it's kind of true because he's a guy, big arm, big athlete, and it was Bryce Young was the number 1 rated player in college football. DJ was 2. I saw them both play in high school. And I'm like, I just think Bryce is a lot better. But I understood why they gave him that high ranking because of his size and athletic ability. But that guy that my suspicions were, I was like, I thought they were going to loft a lot more off of projection. Whereas Bryce Young, you could just see he was just damn good.
I see that a lot. I think they confuse athleticism for quarterback talent a lot of times. Yeah. And I accidentally said Mac Jones when I meant to say Mac Brown earlier when you were mentioning like squandering talent. I was trying to talk about Mac Brown because I've never seen anybody have so many number 1 recruiting classes in a row and can only get 1 natty with Vince Young, you know. But I think they a lot of times do that quarterback thing where it's just like, oh, he's a freak athlete, he's got to be a great quarterback.
Yeah.
My thing, not necessarily quarterbacks, but also corners, defensive backs. I feel like the cornerback position is one that is missed on at times because people look at, okay, the guy can run a 4.3, but can he really defend? Like, what's the guy's wingspan? And you go, my gosh, he's 6'2" with like a 6'6" wingspan, so he's got to be a knockdown corner, and then that does not necessarily manifest. So I've always been kind of intrigued by that cornerback position as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going off my memory completely here, but they broke down by position which ones are normally they miss on, and it was quarterback, and I actually do believe it was corner. Where they don't miss a lot is the line. Like defensive line, if a guy has the physical tool, like a Kayvon Thibodeau, a Will Anderson, a Aiden Hutchinson, these guys were all like blue chip dudes out of high school. And it was like, well, maybe if they didn't work at all or had a lot of injuries to get through, maybe they won't live up to their potential. But you can't teach 6'6", long, 4.5 speed, explosive. It's just the probability of that guy, unless he doesn't work at all, being a bust or at least being an effective player. I mean, you guys did have one really bad one, and he was a terrific prospect. Was Alfano, and that guy had.
I hate that one because that one was a sad mental, emotional case right there. He was, and then Ayabi Anoma was also. Yeah. Both of those two.
Yes.
Well, I think with the defensive line people, a lot of times those guys cannot even try but 1 or 2 plays out of a series and still show out and look good. Remember Latimer from South Carolina? Who's the guy, Ed from Houston a few years ago that just quit halfway through the season? Ed Oliver, yeah. He's still great. Yeah, I mean, with 0 effort and was still awesome. I think it's probably a little easier to get those guys because they can just dominate.
Could you also give that to Jadeveon Clowney, too?
Clowney, oh, yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Another example would be Rashawn Gary.
He
was the number 1 player coming out of high school. And
went to Michigan.
In Michigan, he looked totally disinterested in playing college football. And then he's now one of the better edge guys in the NFL. So that's another example. Sometimes an edge guy, maybe he's just like, I just want to get to the league and get paid. You got NLI now, so
yeah,
you're going to get paid. You get paid in college, so maybe that'll give a little more effort out of some guys just want to get to the league.
I have a theory on Gary, but I don't know how that's viewed in this audience, but I sometimes think when you take the money to go to a certain school and you don't go where you want to go, your heart isn't really playing there. You're playing, I think that was the case with Gary at Michigan.
Now, the live chat is going crazy talking about the national championship game. So, Ty, I want you to kind of switch gears and just go ahead and jump to that, man. And what are your keys in this game for both teams? And what are some X factors for each team in this game?
Man, for me, it's great because I'm not a fan of either, so I can look at this about as objectively as possible. I mean, these rosters are the best rosters in college football. The advantage when it comes man-to-man is not significant, so it really does boil down to coaches. And where Kirby Smart just gets – and he's one of the best recruiters in college football. He's a terrific coach, a great defensive mind, a great culture guy. But what the hell is the issue with Nick Saban? Did he really? Did they make a deal when he went to Georgia that he couldn't beat him? That Georgia defense. Go ahead.
And Ty, that's the biggest mental hurdle with Kirby because if you go to Athens, the people in Georgia are literally in churches with like Bibles and wine, crying out, "Kirby,
Praying their tails
son,
off.
It's been 9 years. It's been 9. You sat under this man Kirby for 9 years. Is there anything in those 9 years that you picked up that we can beat him? 9 years, Kirby.
I know. You just hopefully those prayers come. Not for you guys.
I'll take it.
And interesting, I was watching Steven's show last night. George Teague said if Kirby goes out and loses again, this may kind of be the mental breaking point for him in his career. Ty, do you see any truth in that?
I mean, yeah, because the thing is they have so much going for them, Georgia, as far as they just have one of the best defenses in college football. I mean, I think every single starter, if I'm not mistaken, for Georgia's defense is a 5-star. If not, they're all top 50 players. They have, NFL guys, Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis. Oh, Jordan Davis is one of the 5-star, but everyone other than him. Nolan Smith, Quay Walk. I mean, you can just
Kobe
go
Dean.
on that.
The Kobe Dean.
Yeah,
Kobe Dean's the best one on that. He's the one. He's the best one on that defense.
Best linebacker college football. So they have just so many great guys that if he's not able to get and even offense. I mean, Brock Bowers, the freshman. I'm a Oregon fan, by the way. I wanted him. He was a West Coast kid, California. How did he go all the way to Georgia? And he's just been absolutely terrific. And George Pickens is a guy that, when healthy, is a first-round player. And Burton, I mean, you can go on and on, Samir White. And, like, their roster is just – you're not going to get any better than this Georgia roster. You're not going to get better than this defense. But they got their butts kicked in the first game. I mean, they just got out – I mean, first of all, Bryce Young played out of his mind. And then they just outplayed them. And that defense, which is amazing, looked disjointed. They were out of position. And plain simple, Alabama has dudes, and they made plays. I mean, Menchie actually got hurt in the game, but Jameson Williams and then Bryce Young just was unbelievable. So for me, it really boils down to, which coaching staff can get the better of the other one. If Georgia can come back and play like the Georgia defense, like they just did against Michigan, and they can force turnovers, this is a game that they can win. But if Bryce Young goes out there and plays at his Heisman level, the Heisman he is, and you get utilize the run game a little bit more, then it's Bama. I mean, it really is the best two teams in college football. If you're outside the SEC, you hate to say that. See an all SEC final, you just nails on a chalkboard. You're like, hate the SEC, but they're the two best teams, and it would have been sad if one of them didn't make the playoffs. And so, luckily, quote unquote, both of them did, because you're getting the two best teams. It is the best game. I do think it's going to be a closer game. Me personally, I have a hard time picking Kirby Smart to beat Nick Saban. How can I pick him to beat him?
You know what I think is
that team that lost by 17. I don't know how I could do it.
Well, you know what I think is the big difference in this, and Kirby's got all the talent in the world, but what he's done is he's built Bama 09. He's built the teams that he used to be on at Bama, and he hasn't innovated on offense like we have, and that's been the major difference. The Lane Kiffin switch for us, where we started attacking down the field. When Kirby Smart was our defensive coordinator, when we lost games, it's because a quarterback attacked down the field and beat us, and that's exactly what we did to beat them.
Well, and man, the things that are the difference in great and good are those moments when Nick Saban calls the onside kick against Clemson, when all the momentum's in Clemson's side. On the flip side, Georgia's got a chance to grab momentum. They go up for a punt, and they put their quarterback in the fake punt formation. Saban, like, again, what you said, what you were going on, Kirby, ain't you learned anything in 9 years? Didn't you learn in 9 years? Saban's going to catch that in a heartbeat. And that was two real moments that show me just what you said. How can you take Kirby against Saban? I never will until he damn proves it.
Here's my thing, and this is why I'm not for these people that go 16 playoff, 18 playoff, 12 teams, 100 team playoff. We don't even have the best 4 teams half the time. So
yeah.
what's crazy? What's crazy here is, I mean, this is why the BCS was done away with, because people felt like we're tired of seeing the SEC. Let's get some real eyeballs on this puppy. Let's make this a real eyeball test. Then we can get a champion in here, and history repeats itself again.
Yeah, my counter argument. I do have a counter argument to that one, though. I think 18, 12 team, 30 team, 90 team, how many you get, I think the same two teams will win. But if you get those other teams, it gives them hope. And I think ultimately it will help because your team is making the playoff. I will help with recruiting. And it helps the conference. Obviously, if you're getting a team in the playoff, it's gonna be financially more beneficial for the conference and for the team. So I still am a proponent of probably an 18 playoff, just because the bowl games are starting to not matter at all.
When you got Auburn losing the Birmingham Bowl, and you got the hand sanitizer bowl, the Listerine Bowl, the Cheetos Bowl, brought to you by Chips, the Taco Bell Bowl, the Stephen Smith Muffler Bowl.
Yeah,
but I'd like to see a shot, like you say, but give a break to the 1 and 2 seed that have earned it, and make that Ole Miss Baylor game a play in, because Baylor won the tournament.
The Justin Riley Fathead Bowl.
All right.
Oh, wow. Okay, Stephen, first person to catch a joke in our history of our show is me.
No, Justin. I mean, like an actual live cut out of your head.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
Well, do you think that there's ever a shot that we go to, let's just say we did like a 6-team playoff, right? You got the 2 buys for the top 2 teams to keep the season looking good, and then 4 other teams in there. And then what about like an NIT, like basketball does? Why not have a little tournament for the teams that don't make the things that makes them worthwhile?
That's actually pretty interesting.
I think that'd be a great idea.
That's called the Independence Bowl, sir.
Auburn lost that game to Houston, sir. By the way, man, that was dumb coaching. That's just
wow.
Dumb coaching.
Auburn. I'm really excited for the future of Auburn as a Bama fan right now.
TJ Finley, you tried.
TJ Finley tried.
Dude, he didn't even have to try. If their coach had a brain, they could have ran the Alabama game plan against Cincinnati against Houston and done the exact same thing. They could have ran it all day. They're so stupid. Every time they tried to throw it, quit working. I laughed, but it was dumb. Because I had
8 yards on first down, 3 incomplete passes, turnover on downs. That was the Auburn day.
Quick program note. Just found out our guest Terry Jones Jr. is not going to be able to make it, so we'll continue on this path. Ty, throughout the entire run this season on this show and Steven's show, people in the audience have continually asked about Ajay Hall. Is that how to pronounce it now, Steven? Because I don't think we really know.
It's now a J.I. It's a J.I. Hall.
Either way, Ajay Hall, Ja'Cory Brooks, Trayshawn Holden. What do you see from those guys when you were ranking them and coming in and recruiting? And if you were forced to pick out of one of those guys, who would be the one that's more likely to go off?
Trayshawn, I'm probably most personally. I'm most familiar with Trayshawn Holden. He's a West Coast guy, another guy that got out of the state of California. Terrific player. He was. I thought he was a little underranked. I actually thought he was going to not go to Bama. I remember he was always teasing, and he visited USC and Oregon and Washington, but he ended up going to Bama. I think he's a guy with pretty good upside. I saw he played some this year. But Ja'Cory Brooks is the one, obviously, that I think he was the one, if I'm not mistaken, that caught the touchdown against Auburn, correct?
Yes.
That was him.
And he's a dynamic player. So I don't watch Alabama games as much. How about Early? Is he playing at all? Early?
JoJo Earl.
My bad.
JoJo Earl is playing. The thing with JoJo is he is battling with Slade Bolden in the slot. And so Bolden's kind of the guy right now. And then JoJo also returns punts. The thing with JoJo is he's still sort of anxious. You can tell he's trying to judge where the ball is going on the punt and can't quite judge it correctly right now. So that's kind of where his deal is. But going back to Ja'Cory Brooks, I had two comps for this young man. This guy has the body of Ardarius Stewart, probably one of the more underrated Bama receivers to have a player under Nick Saban. He's got
True.
the body of Ardarius Stewart, but he's got the skill set of Devontae Smith. If you watch his routes, if you watch his release on routes, more importantly, you watch his legs. He has those Devontae Smith type strides going down the field.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Earl coming out of I keep want to say early, but Earl coming because he was an LSU commit, I believe, until
He was. He flipped. He flipped on signing day at the last minute.
That was another huge get. So I loved him coming out of high school, but Brooks was, I believe, I'd have to go back. I believe he was the highest rated wide receiver coming out of his cycle, and he was just a stud. And who's the other guy you asked me about?
Ajay Hall.
Ajay
Hall.
Honestly, I can't remember him.
He's probably going to be, if he can ever get his head together, the best receiver. Just from watching him in that 8A game, man.
Not just the 8A game. Hall in high school in Florida, the guy was a physical freak. I mean, could block, could go up and snatch the ball. He gives me, if he can ever just get it fully together, he gives me Julio Jones vibes.
Yes,
Watching
absolutely.
that kid play, he gives me Julio Jones vibes. When you look
but
at
meaner.
Meaner. When you look at
Meaner.
balance, body control, hands, catch radius, speed, he's got no stiff arm to him, lot of toughness, can really, really block. A lot of Julio Jones in Hall.
A guy going up in the 8A game like he's trying to catch the touchdown in the Super Bowl with a pass coming from Paul Tyson in the third quarter and nobody's watching. I mean, he's a beast.
What cycle was he in?
This year.
He was in 2021. So Hall.
Okay.
So Bama had 4 in that cycle. Bama had Hall, Brooks, Earl, and Christian Leary.
I think Earl was the year before. Or no, he was last cycle.
No, he was. Yeah.
Hey, real
Bama
quick, MFR Jones, did y'all see the Najee Harris stiff arm in the Steelers game last night?
Oh my God!
Please, sir.
That's his second one this year, man. He's doing it.
I think he finished with 188 yards rushing. Dear man.
Yeah.
They were trying to tell him to lay down on that last touchdown. He's like, "No, I'm going to go ahead and score this one."
Tim Harris brings up a good point. Tim Ferriss, sorry. What's sad is this is the youngest team that that Saban has had in 15 years, and we're playing in the Natty. If Georgia can't beat us with all those seniors Kirby has this year, he never will.
That's a good. I mean, that's a.
To be fair, Georgia has recruited at a top 3. I mean, they have a top 3 class every single year. So it's not like, I mean, they have some real good studs like a Kaylee Ringo. Burton, I think, is still just a freshman because I think he played in the COVID year, and that kid's another West Coast kid. Man, look at these rosters and see all these kids from the West Coast on them. It's like Bryce Young and Trajan Holden and Brock Bowers and Milton, the running back for Georgia. It's like, man. Well, maybe now that Lincoln Riley's at USC.
Yeah, I was about to ask you
that. I will say this:
around.
Lincoln Riley did a bang-up job keeping Damani Jackson in California.
Yeah,
because he almost lost Damani Jackson. He almost lost.
I mean, Damani Jackson, Mater Dei Santa Ana is that's where Bryce went to school. That literally is a feeder school for USC. That's where JT Daniels went. That's where Bryce Young went. That's where like Mesa Funa, Solomon Tulopuepe. So it's one of the premier schools, a big Catholic school right outside of LA, actually. So for them to be able to steal Bryce Young just tells you that, one, Bama rocks, and Nick Saban's the best recruiter in college football, and two, things might not be right at USC because Bryce Young should have never have gone anywhere but at USC. And so it will be harder because Damani Jackson obviously ended up flipping back because he was at USC. No, he never committed to Alabama, but he was trending in the crystal ball to Alabama, and then Lincoln Riley was able to come in and swing him back that direction. But I think it'll be a little harder to recruit, but still, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what I have my doubts that USC. I just think the culture there. I have some thoughts outside of just football.
Yeah, is Lincoln Riley a program builder, or is he just a guy that stepped into a really good situation before?
Yeah. Exactly, and he's going into a culture that is not good. I mean, even since he's been there, I don't know if he's been kicking them out or the guys have just been leaving on their own. But he's had, I think, 12 guys hit the transfer portal. He had 5 guys go to the NFL draft, and like a couple of them, like Chris Steele and Isaac Taylor Stewart. I'm like, why are you guys going to the draft? You were terrible. I know you were 5 stars and top 50 players, but you were bad. So it's going to be a job.
It's been a giant fall from the Pete Carroll years. It's a giant fall from Pete Carroll.
At least they still have good intros for the coaches, though. They got that's still top of the line.
I could go give him an intro.
You're absolutely right. Well, looking at this game, guys, I'm curious to hear your take on this. For Alabama, how much of the original formula against Georgia SEC championship do they change? Do they keep things the way they were, or is there anything that should be tweaked? If so, what should it be? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. And I'll start with you, Ty.
So ask me that question again. Sorry,
I was asking, in regards to Alabama's game plan, do they stick with what got them that victory over Georgia initially in the SEC championship? Or is there something that maybe they change, tweak a little bit going into this situation? And if so, what would it be?
Alabama, I think, would just prefer the game to go exactly as it did the first one because they won by 17 points. I do believe Georgia will adjust. They were definitely one thing that I noticed specifically in that game was their ability to move the safeties and his ability to get the crossing route, get the guys open. And to a degree, it was kind of like why wasn't Smart Lanning, who's Oregon's new coach, by the way. So hopefully he wins the Natty. Just kidding. No, but I was wondering why they did. He is, yeah.
I know.
Georgia's DC, isn't it?
I know.
So should I cheer?
No,
what
you
do you think, guys? No, but his ability in the game to just move the safeties over, and they didn't really adjust that during the game. I'm wondering what they'll do this game to make sure, because obviously I think Young has great field vision. He kind of reminds me of, people always probably say this for smaller quarterbacks, but he reminds me of kind of a Drew Brees-esque like IQ at the quarterback position, and his ability just to move over the safety and then get the crosser and to consistently do that throughout the whole game. I was kind of wondering why they wouldn't adjust and maybe play double high safety, and because they kind of were playing the safety back, the high safety, and then they were kind of going with that dime package. And Young was getting rid of the ball so quickly that it didn't make sense to bring the extra guy up. I wonder if they're going to play more guys back, just try to beat them at the line of scrimmage, and kind of instead of putting such a pressure package, maybe just actually force the coverage back and force Young to do something different. That could be one adjustment that I could see Georgia making. For Alabama, you would try to do the same thing. Obviously, if they are playing guys back, more than likely, then you will turn to the run game because you're going to have less guys in the box. So you'll try to draw off the run game, and then if they bring the guys back up, then you start going over the top or with the crossers like they did the last game. For Alabama, you would love to just the game to go exactly as it did, but I think there'll be an adjustment there, and I think they'll play the safeties back a little bit more. That's my opinion.
I don't think we're going to start. Like, one thing that we did not do in that first game, and I think it's the reason why we won, is because we did not try to attack the center of the defense at all, right in the middle. We didn't attack the line of scrimmage. We played around the edges. We basically played an arch that we attacked around their defense. It was just around their front seven, the skill players right there. And we tried to keep those people just ineffective. Like 99 didn't do anything in that game because we didn't let him. You know what I mean? And I think we're going to continue to try not to run into, because if you try to run into the teeth of that defense, it is a fool's errand. Everybody else has learned it this year. And I don't know, I hope their adjustments can't stop us from what we did. That little, almost like the way a 3-point line draws around a basketball court. We attacked a line like that around their defense a lot through the game. And, it was effective. And I just don't know how they're going to be able to adjust. I mean, Kirby Smart learned his defensive strategy from Saban, so I'm sure Saban knows the weaknesses in that defense. You know what I mean? So unless he innovates a little bit more outside of what he learned at Bama, maybe a little advantage.
It's going to be interesting to see how this offensive line looks here in the game because There were a couple of injuries that took place against Cincinnati. Emil Ekiyor went down at right guard. J.C. Latham, the freshman, came in for him at right tackle. Chris Owens got nicked up there. Amari Kite came in for him. So it's going to be very intriguing to see who lines up on the right side of the offensive line. Now, Coach Saban mentioned that Jeff Allen and the training staff has guys prepared to go and play against Georgia, but how healthy are those guys going to be, on the field? So definitely want to keep your eyes there on the right side of the ball. Do we see Ekiyor and Owens, or do we see Latham and Amari Kite on the right side of the field of the formation?
Well, Petty, that leaves you, man. What are your thoughts? Does Alabama change anything? If so, what is it? And just your overall thoughts of the sequel of this contest.
Man, it's going to be different. Like, no way, and through the history of football, you can. I know history doesn't necessarily dictate, but when you have a game that's high scoring like it was, it never works out the same. I'm expecting a lower scoring game. Kind of like you said, I expect it to be closer. And again, you can't, if there is issues on the offensive line, you're not going to run right at them. The difference is, though, B-Rob wasn't healthy the last go around against Georgia. He is now.
Right.
Is that going to tempt
Good point.
you? Is that going to tempt you to try a little more to
Is that a blessing or a curse in that game?
Yeah, is it a curse? Because I don't know, man.
I think it's more of a blessing in that game to have B-Rob healthy, but also I think you didn't have to run Bryce against Cincinnati. Do you do design runs with Bryce against Georgia here? Because you did some design runs in the first matchup, and those worked because Young had 3 carries for 40 yards. Do you go RPO? Do you go design runs with Bryce to really help out not just B-Rob, but also Trey Sanders, who's starting to play well himself?
I think that would be wise.
Yeah. I think you got to. I think you got to against this defense. Again, you nailed it, man. As clean as that last win was, there are some guys nicked up on the line. And, man, Georgia, on the flip side, man, you got to look at Georgia. Georgia's healthier this go-around. They had some guys out. So, I mean, I don't know, man.
Well, they have a better outside threat now with that wide receiver back fully healthy. I'm a little worried about that as well.
And Bauer's fully healthy. That guy was a beast at the end of the game. But again,
I don't think there was anything wrong with him in that game. If there was, he's some kind of Superman.
He hit it good.
That guy's good. Yeah. I mean, if Bryce Young hadn't had the game that he had, I would have said that guy was the number 1 player on the field that day because he absolutely torched us.
I'm going to say this. For Bowers, though, and I thought about this because we had a call into my show on Monday to talk about this, is the potential of maybe putting 6'3" Kyrie Jackson on Brock Bowers, putting 6'3" Kyrie Jackson right there. And I think this time around you would have a more healthier Jagan Armour-Davis outside.
How is he looking? I know he got out there and tried a little bit early. We talked about this right at the beginning of the show.
He had some frustration with his hip. That's the reason why he did not play in the Iron Bowl, did not play against Georgia the first go-round. But I felt like Saban tried to put him out there to test try him a little bit. You could still tell by his face that there was a bit discomfort there. I think Armour-Davis is much better now, but I think Kyrie at 6'3" with like a 6'6" wingspan, put that dude on Brock Bowers, and you kind of bracket Bowers with Kyrie Jackson and Jordan Battle, Kyrie Jackson and DeMarco Hellams. That could be something interesting there.
Yeah.
A question here from the audience. Stephen, you've been asked this literally every week about Malachi Moore's lingering back issue. If Malachi Moore is finally able to go, he's healthy, what do you do with him, especially right now? Brian Branch is playing out of his mind. Yeah. And by extension, he's fueling the DeMarco Hellams.
Right.
He's fueling Kool-Aid. He's fueling Daniel Wright.
He's fueling that. I'm telling you.
It's hard to you don't want to disrupt that.
Look, when you're fueling Daniel Wright, you're doing something.
You really
that's
are.
what I'm saying. So going back to Malachi, man, he's playing. He's played every game this year. It's just he's been more so on special teams than anything else. And when you have a Brian Branch, who, by the way, came out of high school, 4-star from Georgia, he finished Sandy Creek High School as the program's all-time leader for interceptions. So when he came into Alabama, you knew Branch had it in him. It just came down to how quickly would he be able to get it? And since the LSU game, something clicked in Branch, because that game he played well, and then he played well against Arkansas, and then he played really well against Auburn, and he played really well against Georgia. And then against Cincinnati, the man was a demon out there. He had 8 tackles, 2 passes. I'm like, who is this dude? So Brian Branch, the last 5 to 6 games, he not only fuels the secondary, but he has elevated the entire defense. If I'm Nick Saban and Pete Golding, I don't mess with that. I know how good Malachi Moore is when healthy, but you got a Brian Branch. I'm telling you this. The last 6 games, people, last 6 games, guys, Brian Branch he's got 30 tackles. The last 6 games, look at 30 tackles. We're looking at 7 pass breakups the last 6 games. The dude has been on a bender out there playing.
Oh, absolutely. Quick statement to make, and one stat we're all definitely going to have our eye on is Will Anderson is 0.5 away from tying the great Derek Thomas in terms of all-time sacks.
That's insane.
That's
that's something to keep an eye on.
I got a little bit of flack for comparing him to Derek Thomas early on.
We all they had torches lined up outside Steven's studio.
Look. I said this Valentine's Day 2020. I had on a whole red shirt and some roses in the studio, and I sat there and made that comp. I'm telling you, they had Candyman out there, Voorhees all out
hey,
there.
Look, what you forgot is you awoke the beast from the Bill Curry era Bama fans who will throw a brick through a damn window.
Yeah,
You don't
absolutely.
mess with that era Bama fans. They're bricky.
Look, I sat there and made that comp Valentine's Day of 2020. And people thought I was smoking crack.
Yeah.
But look now. Look at this right now.
Well, you did compare him to possibly the greatest defensive player ever.
Rightfully so, though. In hindsight, everybody sees
In
it now.
hindsight-
You just had a good crystal ball going on there.
I mean, yeah, a crystal ball. I thought I was on crack, but I'm okay.
Key point here from Nick Saban Jr. Billingsley hurt his feelings this year. He thought he'd be the next Kyle Pitts. I second that. This year has been a tremendous letdown in terms of Jaleel Billingsley's production. You kind of thought he would have a Kyle Pitts type year. And this is a game where I feel like, even though he hadn't shown up the entire year off and on, this is a game where I feel like Billingsley really can be a huge factor. This guy's a game changer when he's playing to full capacity. So how important is it right now that Jaleel Billingsley plays like Jaleel Billingsley?
It's highly important, but with Jaleel, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So early on, yes, you can put it on him because of the off-field issues and stuff, and him butting heads with Nick Saban and coaches, before the season started. But once that blowed over, and once you started seeing Jaleel blocking well and catching passes here and there, and yes, he had some drops, but you can also look at that. You can also look at this. Bill O'Brien, at times, more times than not, has actually gone away from him. And when you don't establish a guy consistently, and when you don't let that guy know, hey, you're a big part of this offense by consistently getting him that football, you can't really put that all on Jaleel. Yes, there's a part that he's responsible for. He knows that. I don't have to tell him that. He knows that. But he's not responsible for all of that.
Gotcha. Well, before we go to the closing and move
Hey,
into
man, I want to say, motherfucking Jones right here made a good point that you ought to ask. That's one thing I would like to see that maybe, he says he'd like to see tempo and adjust from there. I would love to see Bama get ahead of the chains on first down and have that damn Davis on the field and start hitting tempo and not where he can't come off the field. And by the third, fourth quarter, that kid's or second quarter, he's useless.
Mm-hmm.
I would love.
Look.
Tempo would be great.
But that was second quarter by the first media time.
First drive, yeah. Third play.
Just run tempo and run his ass.
You make him run 30 yards down the field. He's
done.
Well, before we move into our closing and predictions, Ty, you are notorious about putting out several mock drafts every year for the NFL draft. It's your second Christmas, or one of them. Looking at this Alabama team, what guys do you see are potentially high draft picks, and maybe some guys who should be considered higher, or what's your overall feel with the draft eligible guys?
So, first of all, who is draft eligible? You guys tell me.
First foremost,
Evan
Jason
Neal.
Williams, Evan Neal.
About
Well,
his
I mean,
Mathis is
Evan,
he there?
Evan Neal should Evan Neal should. So yeah, you're right about him. Evan Neal should be a top 3 pick physically. The problem with Evan Neal is he's not been consistent enough. So his tape is probably not as good as his physical ability. So I think he's a guy that's going to be an obvious first-round pick, but I know that he's dropped in. And it's not just because of that; it's because there's some good edge guys that I think people are wanting to get after. So I think he's a top 10 pick, though. Still, despite I think he's not played as well, especially early in the season, as his ability.
Right.
Who's the other ones?
Yeah, you got Jamison Williams, Jordan Battle, Henry Chocho.
Jamison Williams. Sorry, Jamison Williams, first-round pick. It's crazy that Ohio State's room was so stacked with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith in the Digbo. He had to transfer. He's unreal. He's going to run a ridiculous time at the 40. I think he's a first-round pick for sure. Where he goes, you got Drake London out of USC. That's a pretty good receiver. You got Olave and you got
Pittsburgh
Garrett
guy.
Wilson.
See a senior.
Addison, Addison's going.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would probably, if I were to rank the receivers, I'd probably say Garrett Wilson and Jamison Williams and Drake London are the 3 best, and probably Chris Olave is a little smaller, so he'll probably go at the end of the first or the early second. Who are the other ones, guys?
Well, one guy that's definitely been getting a lot of praise here lately and was gone unnoticed by a lot of folks other than Alabama fans this entire season, Fedarian Mathis. Stats are definitely a lot better than Jordan Davis's right now. He's been blowing people up. And do you see him maybe as a day 1 or early day 2 pick?
Well, inside guys, it's always a little more difficult because Barrymore was just a stud last year, and where he ended up landing at the end of the first. Did he go in the second?
He went second, yeah.
Pick 38.
He went early second. He went early second, right? Well, he was mocked the whole way till at the end of the first, and he ended up going the second. It's just probably like a day 2 guy. That position, it's more because it's not because of his abilities and because of how effective he's at the position. It's more just because the NFL really is going. Obviously, edge guys go. First round is going to be, Hutchinson and Thibodeau, and then you got the long corners, and then Stingley and Elam, and then you go for the dynamic like game breaking receivers, and you got the offensive tackles, and it's just when
Give
you
me my quarterback.
This is the worst draft. It's the worst draft of quarterbacks. And Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, and my boy.
I feel so bad.
My boy from my alma mater, Willis. I went to Liberty, so
He played at Liberty.
Played for Liberty. Yeah, he'll probably go in the first round, and who knows? Sam Howell might.
Is Willis really going to go in the first round? Someone's going to waste it, or someone's going to take a pick on that dude in the first.
You're going to win.
I didn't mean to say waste.
No, it's fine.
I'm going to say
I
right
believe.
now. Somebody's
Somebody's
going to make a reach for Sam Howell, though.
So somebody's going to Keely Smith this Willis kid. That's cool.
like I said, okay. So if you compare the recent drafts to the quarterback coming out this year, I mean, you had Herbert, you had Tua, who Miami's still regretting. Sorry, guys are not responding.
Look.
This chat is about to fire up, man.
Since it's Oregon and Bama, you guys got to say Justin Herbert. That was a mistake by Miami. Come on.
I'll
let you all admit it.
If Justin Herbert had gone to Miami, he'd be running for his life too, because they've got 3 of the worst graded linemen in the NFL on their team.
All I'm gonna say is when Rick Ross does not know who Brian Flores is, you're Rick Ross, and you don't know who the Miami coach is half the time.
Guys, Tua as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll
see.
He gets help. He gets help. Okay. There's some questions.
Hey, what about this kid that goes to the Jets? Like, everybody that goes to the Jets goes there to die, even if they're any good. So, I mean, there's got to be something to do with what team you're on.
Look.
It does.
President.
And obviously, And obviously, Mac Jones went to a much better situation. He's been terrific. But Justin can vouch. I said that Mac was going to be better than Tua in the NFL.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
just thought he was going to be better. So
here's a question from everybody in the chat. They've been talking about this. You got two guys for Alabama who have a decision to make. That's John Mechie and that's Christian Harris. Ty, which one of those guys need to stay? Which one of those guys need to go, or do both need to leave or go?
Oh, both. Mechie's a first-round guy. I believe pretty much every mock you see out there, so he's gone. Harris, once again, okay, so the linebacker is another position that they don't go as high as, like, unless you're just an elite linebacker, you don't go as high. But Harris is a terrific player. He was a guy that was mocked in the first round going into the season. I don't know if he goes day one, but he's probably a day two guy. I think you leave. I mean, if you're mocked if you're projected to go in the first 3 rounds, in my opinion, I mean, it's football. It's a tough sport. It's a physical sport. It's hard on your body. I would go. So yeah, I think Henry Toto should go. So that's, and I know he's not been as consistent as he normally should, but I still think he's probably a late day 2, early day 3 guy.
So what you're saying, Ty? So what you're saying, Ty, is you're opening me up for next spring for Bama. Deontay Austin, Kendrick Blackshear, inside linebackers. Let's go, Lawson.
Let's go. I was gonna say, does Bama care if these guys leave? You guys, we
had a lot of seniors last year, and it was awesome.
No, Ty, seriously, I want to see Lawson. And I want to see the love child of Reuben Foster, Kendrick Blackshear. Let's go! Let's go!
Yeah.
Kendrick Blackshear looks like he's already 35 coming in. That dude.
Man,
Can we confirm that Blackshear smokes cigarettes at halftime as well? That's crucial.
That was a secret we found out, Ty, about Reuben Foster during halftimes of games. He'd bring a pack of Newports out and calm his nerves.
Really?
Yes,
Chamberlain style.
Really?
Daniel here actually broke that on our show when we had Reuben Foster on, and Reuben he fessed up.
There was a picture. You know, it's always famous after the Tennessee game. You see all the Bama players taking the pictures of the cigars. Well, man, I've clowned with me and a buddy forever that our favorite one was the one with Reuben Foster sitting in the corner with a damn cigarette, and
everybody's ripping big cigars.
Like, yeah. And so I asked him about it, and then I had no idea the Pandora's box of what the hell that was about to open. I mean, y'all had to give a PSA to kids after that damn thing. Like, kids,
we did.
Don't smoke and play football.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. Well, guys, we've actually gone over.
Another one I forgot was Jordan Battle. That's the guy that is going to head to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where do you see Jalen Armour Davis?
Ooh, the corner, Jalen Armour Davis.
Jalen Armour Davis,
number 5.
Ty, would have been better if they'd have just asked you, "Hey, we're going to go down the entire roster. Tell us where they're headed."
Yeah. I have not heard. So when it comes to the Bama guys, I would have to look at the most. I try to look at, like, there's so many mocks out there. There's like a billion of them. So I try to look at the Draft Network. I think they do a pretty good job. Bama guys that I've seen in the early rounds is, Jordan Battle, Evan Neal, Christian Harris, Jamison Williams. Who am I missing? Who's another guy that could be a
Fedarian Mathis,
Toto.
Mathis, day 2. See, Toto is one that probably he may come back just because he's not going to, I don't think, test as good as he should, and his tape was he's been a little bit inconsistent. He might not go till day 3, but he could go in the late 3rd round. But then you guys got some, like, the thing is your roster, you have better guys behind them. Yeah. Like
Blackshear.
It's great. Like you said, wide receiver.
I mean,
right
Corey
now, Brooks, Tayshawn Holden. You got J.C. Latham. You have Brockmeyer. Did he get any?
I'm gonna tell you this. Ty, did you know that I'm the 3rd string kicker? They got me 3rd string kicker. Yeah. I'm a 3rd string kicker.
Yes. Matter of fact, Steven got an NIL deal with Lens Crafters.
Yeah, so did. Hey, I'm rocking it right now. Yeah, I'm a third string kicker. I'm behind Will Reichert and the other guy. The other guy, Reichert.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
right. Bama. Speaking, so Bama added Elias Ricks, didn't they? And
They did.
Oh yeah, and Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs
Jack
is
Martin,
ridiculous.
that's the other kicker. Jack Martin, that's one behind. Jack Martin.
So do you guys project Gibbs to start next year?
Man, that's a tough question considering we're going to have a healthy Jace McClellan, a healthy Rodell Williams,
A healthy Trey Sanders, a healthy Kamar Wheaton.
Wait,
You know what?
Hold on, is Trey Sanders ever truly healthy?
No.
Lord
He's
never knows.
he's getting to
Has
that
he been
point.
healthy the whole time since he's been at Bama?
No, he's not.
There's a 5-star kid. There's a 5-star kid that, I mean,
by the
Well, he
way,
had a
they
car
run
accident.
him,
One of
my
his
que-
things was a car accident, which was a big thing. It wasn't so much a football injury. So that's the one that really messed him up.
His freshman year, he just had like a slight, foot fracture. His freshman year.
The way they run him still makes me question, though, is there still something a little bit off? Because, man, I felt like we were going to see more and more of him as the year progressed, and it hadn't really like I said, he looks fresh when he comes in. So that's I'm still kind of questioning, is there something still a little off that they see in practice?
I'm going to say this. This spring is going to be so much fun. This spring is going to be so much fun because the competition of the pecking order and the practices and the A-Day game, whoever does not fit the pecking order after the spring game, we can see some portal spots open.
Yeah, gotcha. No doubt. Well, guys, we've actually gone.
yeah. Is there any guys that? Sorry, I was just gonna say something quickly. Is there any guys that you would expect to hit the portal? Some guys that hasn't played as much, like possibly Trey Sanders.
Yeah. I could see maybe 1 to 2 running backs, maybe 1 to 2. But at this point, I think, like I said, once we hit spring ball, that will open up the whole box of information right there.
I'll be blown away if Hall makes it.
Yeah, I would.
Well, it depends. If he has the game-winning touchdown right here,
Yeah,
I still contend with the fact that these receivers, they have to be a little bit patient because Devontae Smith had 8 catches his freshman year and caught the Natty winner at the end. You know what I mean? 8 catches the whole year.
I agree. They
Granted,
need to
3
keep it
touchdowns, but 8 catches is not a whole lot of action. So he won the Heisman. So you can't just expect to jump in and be the number 1 receiver at Bama in year 1. I mean,
Last
The
thought
portal's
here.
portal's getting crazy though. I mean,
Yeah.
Caleb,
Last thought
his
here,
coach
though.
left, but
Yeah.
Caleb Williams.
Last thought
yeah,
here,
that was
though.
crazy.
If you compare the seasons of Devontae Smith's freshman year and Ja'Cory Brooks' freshman year, they're identical.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he's caught that game winner he's just basically there for the
Wow.
touchdowns right now. He looks a lot like Devontae. You're right out there. I like
No doubt.
But with a bigger body, that's a scary comparison right there, man.
Very.
Stephen Whalen says that you'll probably hit the portal, and we have enough kickers.
Man, go, man. I ain't hitting no portal,
Hey,
man.
you might need to just switch to holder. If you switch to be our
Look,
holder, man, you might
Which
get a little
probably
action.
would-
man.
Which
Look,
probably
I'm
wouldn't be
gonna
a
good,
bad
man.
idea given
Man,
the holders we've
Steven got
had.
too much credit. He's that guy that ran off the sideline and tackled a Rice guy. He got too much credit in him. He'll be that guy.
Look.
So guys, so if you did hit the portal, who would you go to? What other team would
Lane
you?
Kiffin.
Really?
Yes.
Ole Miss?
Okay.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
If I hit
Lane-
the portal,
How about outside the SEC? If you hit the portal and you had to go to school outside the SEC, where'd you guys go?
You're wanting us to say Oregon, aren't you?
It would be on the list.
No.
no, for real,
I
Miami.
love Oregon. I love
Miami.
the uniforms. I'm all about
You
it.
do? Nice.
Yes, I
I
love it.
think-
I'm crazy.
I think Crystal Ball is going to turn Miami around. Miami.
Oh, no
You know
way.
Cristobal. You know Cristobal's not my favorite guy right now.
I bet.
Even though I don't blame him for going back to the alma mater. Now I'm going to say this about Cristobal. Cristobal is one of the best recruiters in college football outside of Saban and Kirby. His ability to recruit, but as a head coach, there were some things I was not too fond of. His in-game management, his in-game game planning, let's just say when you have the best roster in the conference and you lose in your tenure 6 or 7 games to teams with far less talent.
Yeah.
I just think that,
Well,
and
why did Cristobal
supposedly
leave?
brought that physical nature, and when they played Utah, they got out physical, and that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, they got their butts
Wasn't
kicked.
Cristobal involved in all that stuff in Miami? All that trouble that they got into for like paying players and stuff, and now that's totally legal. So I mean, it seems like a match made in heaven.
Miami's a mess, though, man. They don't even have an AD. Or do
No,
they?
they do now. They got
now.
Clemson's
They get that
AD.
settled. Okay.
Yeah.
Transfer portal. My answer is any large metropolitan area because I think that's what's going to take over football. Unless you've got something like Arkansas with the Walmart guys or Oregon with Nike, it's going to be large cities, large population centers that can support huge NIL deals, and that's what I'd be looking for.
Hey,
That makes USC sound kind of.
So I'm saying USC's probably. I think USC and UCLA will be back on top very soon, just because of the money that's around there. I think you'll probably get some small program up in New York area come to the top because of money at some point. I don't know who it'll be, but something's going to happen up there because there's just too much money and rich people like to buy stuff.
There's a lot of crime though there, so.
Texas A&M changed the game with it this year with the NIL stuff.
Texas
I mean,
A&M,
they
yeah.
dropped about what, 30 million?
Did you hear the report on that?
30 million on this recruiting class. I mean, they just signed another guy that now Bama brought in like a couple years ago or a year or two. It was the highest rated recruiting class ever. A&M just eclipsed it today with whatever. And like the report, like you said, around 30 million in NIL stuff.
See, that's that oil money.
But here's the thing,
compete with
though.
that.
Jimbo Fisher was recruiting them, and he's had top 5 recruiting classes majority of the time he's been there. And what's he done ultimately while he's been there? At the most, what that 10-win season
Bama.
last year? Well, once out of every how many years?
He lost to Mississippi schools.
But when he beat
his
Bama,
quarterback
though, I'm telling you, when they beat Bama, that's where all the NIL deals came. The moment
Yeah.
he got kicked the field goal.
We're on, baby. Dude, cheerleaders for everybody.
Cheerleaders and beer.
Dude, cheerleaders and beer and Colts.
Yeah, so speaking of A&M, I do a rough draft of my team talent formula, and A&M is going to have the largest increase by a significant margin of any team.
Oh, before you go, I had a question I wanted to ask about that. Which team is squandering the most talent right now? Who has the best roster with the worst position?
And in the inverse, who's doing the best with the least?
Yeah.
If you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look it up right while I'm on here. So
For a
this
while, it was
year-
Florida State.
Well, I mean, Mac Brown's got to be in the contest always.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he didn't have a good
Well,
year.
North
too.
Carolina. Yeah.
So this specific season, it was LSU.
Okay.
They had a top
Makes
5.
sense.
They had a top 5 roster. They had
That
20
should've been
top
obvious.
100 players. They had 46 blue chippers, and they obviously played like crap. And they've been like crap the last 2 years with a top 5 roster. So I would say LSU, Florida, and the thing was, Dan Mullen's first couple teams were actually he overachieved the roster talent, but he recruited a lot of good guys from the portal, and he ended up actually having the number 6 roster according to my rankings, and obviously he got fired. And then USC. USC has had a top 10 roster in the team talent composite. 5 of the years they've had a top 5 roster. In the team talent composite, all 7 years they've had a top 10 roster. My team talent formula, every single season they've had a top 10 roster, and they just fired their coach.
USC needs to use the NIL money to buy fans, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's just the culture. And honestly,
all USC need is to hire me as a hype man. I'll go in, I'll hype up SC. I'll probably have that's all they need.
and then the last one I would mention is Texas. They pretty much every single year have a top 10, 15 roster on paper, including this year where they had the number 11 roster and they were below 500. So they're another team that squanders. I mean, teams that overachieve, Cincinnati,
Of course.
Utah always overachieves. They've never been in my top 25.
Kyle Whittingham's a good coach.
Yeah.
Yep, and I tell you what, Dave Aranda. Inherited a good
the
situation
job
with
he did at Baylor.
But
The
great
job
coach.
he
No.
did.
Dude, that defense he's put out there is legit.
Yeah.
Probably the last one would. You know what? I think Lane Kiffin did. He was outside my top 25.
Well, look
He
at
had a top
the
10
talent
team.
on that roster is not very good.
Kiffin's. How did he do as far as when he was at FAU? Did he do better than his roster or about equal?
Oh no, he did. He was pretty much he was playing above his weight the whole time.
Cool.
He was. I kind of had a feeling that he was going to get another Power 5 by how well he did there.
I thought that
Kiffin
was the
could
case,
coach.
but it's good to hear it in the numbers.
Kiffin could coach. The only place that he didn't work was USC, and honestly, I think it's a culture thing. That's why I'm not totally sold on Lincoln Riley.
I think it's a bust.
That culture is a tough place to win right
Well,
now.
and again, that's USC being crazy because if you look back when Kiffin was there, what did they have? 60 scholarship players. He got that goofy quarterback drafted first who wasn't very good. I can't remember his name. Anyway, but man, why is that's going to drive me crazy?
Mark Sanchez?
Not Sanchez, the one after him, the kid that
Matt Barkley?
Barkley.
Yeah,
He got
Barkley,
drafted.
yeah.
So, I mean, he took over shambles, and they were still winning 7 games with 60 scholarship players. So it was funny how that right after that was kind of a weird deal with Lane. I still don't think he just completely failed there. I think there's a lot, like you've said several times throughout the night. There's a lot behind the scenes at USC.
And then you had Sarkisian go there, and look how we'll see how he does at Texas, but he's been pretty good everywhere else, and he failed. Couldn't stay off the drink.
Man,
and then they hire Clay Helton, who should have never been a head coach. So
Oh gosh, no.
we will see if USC's back. You call me a skeptic.
I don't think Lincoln's a program builder. Does USC have booster problems like Texas and like Alabama used to have before Saban and stuff?
Yeah.
Is that what holds them back? Because I feel like that's the common theme when the boosters have more power than the coach.
And they had, and so you hire Pat Hayden, former player, as an AD. Then you hire Lynn Swan, a former player, as an AD. Those guys should never have been ADs. I mean, you actually hire someone who's a good AD, like someone who's actually like Greg Byrne, who actually is good at their job.
Administrator,
not someone who is just a celebrity or former athlete.
Rest in peace, Malmore. Thank you, Malmore, for what you did.
Oh man, statue. There needs to be a statue next to Saban with Mal. Of Mal, he needs to be in that statue land.
I will tell you, Mal was one Saban away from having a not good legacy, though. If you think about it,
but he's one Saban away from earning a statue.
I will say this though. Mal's legacy though, prior to Saban, he did win a national championship as a player for Coach Bryant.
Sure.
He coached on Coach Bryant's staff and got 5 more rings. Mm-hmm. And then as an AD, he had the foresight to recognize, man, we have fallen. Where's Nick? Call Saban.
Right.
Well,
but with the mics, like we think about the Mike situation, Mike, and Mike. I don't know. That was a little.
I think he realized he couldn't get back on that plane to Tuscaloosa if he didn't have Nick on it.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You could blame Dubose a little bit there in the late 90s, 2000, but Dubose did have to deal with my man
probation and everything.
Yeah, probation. Yeah, that was kind of messed up. And then Francione just left us in the dust there. Mike Price, I don't even count him. I don't even count Price.
So, it's rolling, baby. It's rolling.
All 20 minutes.
Look. He was here for 10 sips of coffee, and he was out. So,
I'll tell you what, though. He was a fan favorite in those few minutes. Like, the players loved him. The bars loved him.
Well, I'm sure they did.
Loved him.
The women loved him.
Co-eds.
Brody Crowell really loved him.
Brody
he did.
He came and cried for him on TV.
I remember that. I was sitting in my dorm when I saw
forgot
that.
about Mark Price.
Oh my gosh! But,
It's rolling, baby.
The woods up at Washington State, man. He should have just stayed.
Stripper pole, Mike Price.
Dude, he's been up in Washington so long, he got to the South and started seeing them co-eds in the bars and said,
They might give Mike Price that pole assassin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no.
That's it. Before we get out of here, we got to get predictions of the Natty guys. So let's go around the room and give our unbiased opinion. We'll start with you, Michael, and then we'll move on to Petty, then Ty, and then Stephen M. Smith. You'll close it out.
Well, I was probably the only guy screaming that it was going to be 40s to teens in the first game when we were going in. Nobody really believed me, but I thought that we had a mismatch. It's going to be closer this time because the teams know each other a little better. Georgia had the nerves last time. I think it'll be a little bit less. Thank God we're the underdog and we got all that good rat poison going on, and we'll still be able to pull the 31-21.
Okay.
I'm
Petty.
I'm going
Nervous 31-21.
I'm going lower, but I'm going tighter too. I think this is going to be. Sorry, it's going to Bama Nation. get your whiskey, get everything ready. It's 24-21, but the Tide's gonna roll.
Oh, you think we'll pull the win? I like it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Shit, Saban ain't losing to Kirby right now. I don't want to say that, but I don't feel like Saban will lose to Kirby. I just don't. I believe in the mental block.
So man, Georgia's a great team, but he just cannot. He is a terrible hurdle right there, and I just can't pick him to beat Saban. I'm gonna go 31-28. Bama.
Okay.
We're all pretty close here so far.
Stephen M. Smith, you are the last one.
I'll say this: it all comes down to the quarterback, and I trust Bryce Young a bit more than what I trust Stetson Bennett. So let me roll this right there: 35-21, Bama. 35-21.
Nice. Okay,
I like it.
I'll take it.
All covers.
Hey, that's right. Hey, winners
Justin,
cover.
what's yours?
Real winners cover.
No doubt.
Justin,
All right, before
Justin, you gonna give us a score, man?
Hold on, Justin.
Sneak out of here.
hey man,
Justin trying to pimp walk out of here. Hold on.
hey,
Peace, guys.
I'm calling the game on Twitter. I can't make my pick.
Oh, okay. I'm calling the game on Twitter. Twitter calling the game.
No,
We're doing a live broadcast. We can't give.
No, man. I'm like the Reese Davis of game day here, so I just kind of, I mind the store. Oh no, if I had to,
all right. So I'll be Corso. Cotton Bowl wins. Cotton Bowl wins.
no, I'll pick Alabama 27, Georgia 24.
Okay.
What's the 3-point games? Michael's the one.
Well, my 10-point, I think, is a touchdown at the end to kind of pull it off. I think it's going to be a nail-biter. I think we may go down early in the beginning like we did in the last game.
Nice. Hey, by the way, for everybody that does gamble, that's an under, too, for most of us. Well, no, wait. Most of us think had the under there.
What was it, 58?
52.
52? I called it right on then, so
Okay.
21.
Ooh.
Yeah. By accident.
You know that Ty's figured out who the damn degenerates are in this hour.
Absolutely. Week 0 sports and other stuff right here.
The Week 0 sports guys.
Before we head out,
It's on it.
gotta give a shout out to a couple of our Bama guys. Cyrus Jones, if you are looking for a house in the Atlanta area, he is your man to contact. Atlanta Luxury Real Estate. His number right here. He's already helped out a few of our audience members, so give him a shout. Bama Sci-Fi, can't go wrong. And going along with that, another Bama Sci-Fi guy, DJ Petway, Precision Fencing, both commercial and residential. His number is right here, so definitely give him a shout.
What town's he in?
He's in South Alabama. He's in Mobile, but
Okay.
he can go wherever the work is.
All right, good deal.
So, and gotta give our shout out to one of our sponsors, Workspace Pros.
Oh, Workspace Solutions. Don't listen to those guys. God, terrible.
Man,
They're great for you. Hey, they'll help you grow your business. I don't know.
But Ty, man, we really enjoyed having you on here. We're gonna have to bring you back on when our wrecking crew comes back from their hiatus. But man, it was an absolute joy to have you. Glad we could finally
So is this
collaborate.
a different crew? Is this a different crew than normal?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
temps.
You were standing.
Yeah, the temp service sent these guys.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, we're $11 an hour. It's pretty easy stuff.
I mean, I'm here all the time. I came in late for something, but I had to put on the Cotton Bowl stuff, so I'm actually co-hosting here.
no, Steven Smith.
I put my number in a truck stop bathroom and just got a call and showed up.
I did see that. He had
Literally, Justin called me from the other side of the world. If you don't bring your butt in here, I'm about to die.
Oh yeah, I had to send an Uber, but no, Steven is one of my regular co-hosts. Marvin Constant, my main guy, he had knee replacement surgery, so he is.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's doing that. Bo Scarbrough wasn't able to make it. He has something come up. Steve Brown wasn't able to make it either. He's got auditions that he had a part of. Guys, yeah, people, if you don't see Steve Brown, he's actually auditioning for TV shows and movies right now, along with being on the road with a stand-up comedy. And by the way, the people who are in Mississippi, Steve Brown will be at Chuckles Comedy Club in Jackson, Mississippi this weekend, so come see him. But yeah, Ty, man, thanks for coming on, man. We had a blast.
Yeah, no problem,
if you
dude.
would,
Great, man. Great
if
insight.
you would, before we leave, for anyone who wants to keep up with you, give them your contact information on the social media platforms.
Yep.
Yeah, come check me out at TurnerCast on Twitter. I do some trolling, so ignore that. You might want to put me on mute.
I love a good troll. I mean, that's like I've got a couple troll accounts that they're dear to my heart.
It's legendary, actually.
It was okay. I was probably at my worst when it was the draft of the Herbert Tua draft. When they were all dissing Herbert all season. I was just I was getting on my
You're not Barry McCockiner, are you?
That's my friend. We're buddies.
That dude is fabulous.
He's
When
hilarious,
he got Hugh Freeze to pray for his sister who died of a marijuana overdose, might have been one of the greatest Twitter moments of all time.
Oh my goodness.
It was fabulous.
Hey.
So great.
Man.
Hey, Hugh Freeze is doing good things at my alma mater.
He is, man. Y'all just
He
keep
is.
those massage tables, loaded up with the ladies, and he'll keep you winning.
Plenty of lotion. He'll be fine.
Yes. Matter of fact, I'll use that to
Yeah,
segue into the week 0 guys that so graciously came on the field while my guys were out. If you would, man, for those who don't already know, let people know how they can find you guys.
Well, we're Week 0 Sports and Other Stuff podcast. You can find us at Week 0 Sports on just about every social platform out there. You can go to week0sports.com. That's our website. That's where my guy Petty right here writes Petty's Pointless Ponderings about every week, and we got some more content and stuff on there, so make sure you check that out. And our YouTube channel is also Week 0 Sports. We do the Saturday morning cocktail kickoff with Justin on game days and that one as well.
No doubt. And tune in, as always, to Stephen M. Smith tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central. And what you got on the docket, man?
Man, I got a lot on the docket. I'm wearing the Cotton Bowl hat now. I'll give my love to people in Dallas. Hey, Cotton Bowl. So what we got on the docket for tomorrow, we're going to have Mike McCoy back on. 2009 national champion Mike McCoy is coming on because he knows a little something about getting those bounce back wins and big championship situations. So we're going to have Mike McCoy on, and behind him we may either have a Georgia Bulldogs beat writer, or we may have somebody else behind him. So definitely the toast of the thing is Mike McCoy. Y'all call in tomorrow. Let's have some laughs. Let's have some fun. Let's have some conversations. I will not be wearing the Cotton Bowl gear tomorrow. I'll be wearing my regular stuff. But love the good people in Dallas.
Absolutely. Well, guys, great show. Enjoyed it tonight. Y'all have a
Thanks
good
for
night.
having us.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. Roll
Thanks for having
Tide
me, guys.
and go Ducks for you, Ty.
Quack, quack.
Quack, quack.